What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 30 of the ControllerCast. My name's John. I'm here with Ursel and Andrew this week. As always, we'll start off with how we're all doing, get into a few current events, and then we're going to be talking about our main topic for this week, which this week it'll be Back to the Future, first part. But I'll start off with how I'm doing. I've actually been doing really well. It was my birthday last weekend. I'm 24, so I'm starting to feel really old now. But that was a really good time. Casey spoiled me with Top Golf, breakfast, lunch, and dinner over the entire weekend. And I got some gifts. I got some like male hair care stuff, and I also got a $75 PlayStation gift card, which I used to get Hot Wheels Unleashed and Super Monkey Ball, which are both fire flame. And I would highly recommend both of those, especially Hot Wheels Unleashed. If you're into arcade racers, that one is a banger. And it just feels innovative for arcade racers because we really haven't seen any innovation in a long time. Even Mario Kart. I mean, Mario Kart 8 came out in 2014, 13. So that is a fire game. Highly recommend. Also, I got to see both sides of the family for Thanksgiving this year. And that was really fun. And we also had a Friendsgiving. It sounds like I think Andrew had a Friendsgiving as well, but we had one with our friends Brittany and Thad, and watched Nebraska lose, even though we were up by 2 scores.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Like
Good thing that fucking disaster is over for 8 months.
Literally, I was like, well, at least we don't have to watch Nebraska lose again for 6 months? But
like 9
at
months.
Least, oh yeah, I guess it's 9
Hey, you'll
months.
have a kid next time they play.
I know. Oh my gosh. Dressing my kid up in some Nebraska gear. Hopefully that'll bring us some luck. I won't embarrass him like that. No, but other than that, I mean, games wise, Casey and I just finished the first act, so a little over the first third of Ghost of Tsushima, and holy crap, the end of that first act is legit. It's actually starting to get really interesting now, but I think it started off really slow.
Castle Canada.
That goes. What?
Castle Canada.
Castle Canada.
Straight from Canada.
Actually, like, really surprising the way that it started to go, but I'm excited to see it. Hopefully we can finish it like relatively soon, definitely before Christmas. Really all it'll take is a few weeknight 2-hour game sessions to get it finished, so we're gonna
try to break it down like that.
Well, probably a little bit more than that. I mean, first act is over, and that took us like 8 to 10 hours, so it might actually take a little bit longer than that. But if you break up a video game like a TV show and think about it like that, it's really easy to get through.
First act is oh Jesus Christ, I can't speak. First act is the longest.
Okay. Yeah. Like chapter wise, the second act was like the same length, but I'm sure that the first one with tutorials and stuff is a bit longer, but
yeah, you're getting the swing of it.
Yeah. And it's a satisfying, peaceful game to play. Also one that I would highly recommend already. And I've only got through a third of it, but I feel like I have a pretty good handle on like what it is and how it plays, and it's really good. It's really in depth too, and easy to understand. Because I hate the games that like have really in-depth combat, but you can't figure out like the upgrade systems and stuff. But this one's super easy to understand.
Can you tell it's I don't know, can you tell it's from the people who made Infamous?
In a way, I feel like I can. I can tell that it's from Sucker Punch, but like, I don't know, it's subtle things. I feel like it's almost like the character movements a little bit.
I can see that, like when they're on the when they're like moving, or when Jin is like moving around on like wires or something like that. It kind of reminds me of like Cole from Infamous, you know?
Yeah, dude. And not like the new Infamous game. It definitely reminds me of the older ones a little bit.
PS3 ones.
Yeah, those were classics. But like I said, also I picked up Hot Wheels Unleashed, and actually legit, it's like one of the best arcade racing games I've played in a really long time. It's a lot more difficult than like Mario Kart, but that might also be just because I've been playing Mario Kart for over a decade. But it's a lot more satisfying when you do win and you do get the hang of it because it's so difficult. Like I'm playing on normal, and it took me probably 3 to 4 hours of playing it before I started to actually win races. Like it's not easy. But I highly recommend picking it up if you're into racing games, especially like Mario Kart. Um, but that pretty much wraps up how I've been doing. Andrew, how have you been doing lately?
It's been pretty good. I've been hanging out with family all weekend, which is nice for the Thanksgiving holiday. Watching some football. There's some pretty good football on last night that didn't involve Nebraska for once. And yeah, I mean, Black Friday, I unfortunately had to buy new glasses because my prescription changed because my eyes got worse apparently. So had to drop like a PS5 worth of money just so I can see properly. So that's always fun. We love that.
Yeah, are those new
Very
glasses?
exciting.
I can't tell.
No, they're coming in like a week. I had to order them. It'll be a nice little surprise.
Order them like that?
What?
Is it normal to have to order them like that?
Yeah,
Like,
because they have to like do the lenses and then put them in. Like I get Ray-Bans, which that's probably my fault why they're so expensive. But
I've always gotten Ray-Bans too.
I always get Ray-Bans because I'm like, you know what? I wear my glasses and sunglasses literally every waking hour of my life. So like, I mean, I get much more than the money's worth out of new glasses when I buy them, and I only have to get them like every like 2 or 3 years. So
yeah,
it's
that
not,
is
Same.
premium.
yeah, not a big deal. But yeah. So Black Friday, I got a Super Monkey Ball and Hot Wheels, and that's about it. And then my Keurig died today, the day after all the Black Friday sales ended. So that's super fun and trendy.
Hopefully
So
they have deals on Cyber Monday or something.
I
Amazon
know
has.
I'm probably gonna like I like filled it up with water and it said it was ready to brew and I hit the brew button and it just didn't do anything. So I'll probably just try to talk to their service people, but that probably won't be very successful. So I probably will just not do anything and just get rid of it.
It seems like there were a lot of good like games deals for Black Friday, but I didn't see a whole lot of other really good deals. Like usually I see a ton of TV deals and stuff, but I feel like there weren't hardly any.
I know.
Bro, this was the one. I was saying this was the one Black Friday where I was completely out of the loop for like any deals.
Yeah,
Like
same.
I just didn't care. I feel like.
I saw it like the Keurig was half off, but it was like the 1 cup brew one, the mini one.
That's the
So
one I have. And it's
oh
$90 normally, so it's still like $50 on sale.
dang.
I saw a
Yeah.
tweet like saying like Black Friday fell off 4 years ago or something like that. Black Friday has been washed 4 years.
Honestly, I agree.
Well, dude, because Black Friday used to be like, oh, you go out and get like 40% off everything. Now it's like, oh, 5% discount on like a PS5 USB-C charging cable. Happy Black Friday. Like,
Cool. I mean,
I
there's
actually saw I actually saw people walking out of Best Buy on Friday with PS5, so I know the one in
Oh
Omaha
shit.
must have had them at
dang.
some point.
You know, I was actually saw an article saying showing that the best-selling console during Black Friday was the Xbox Series S, because it was the only one that was in stock.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I mentioned this on the show before, but I have gone multiple times into brick and mortar stores and seen Series S's just
I have
sitting there.
too. I've seen them at Target. I've seen a ton at Target.
Yeah, and like as a parent, you know, where a lot of people are doing Christmas shopping, you know, and a year later, um, at that point, maybe you're a little bit like you have a little bit less patience on your hand, you know, and you do want to get, you're probably just going to get your kid that net quote unquote next gen console and cut a few corners there, you know.
Then your kid will shit his pants when he only has one game on it because it's got like 300 gigabytes of space on it.
Here you go, Bucko. Here's Warzone.
Yeah, I was gonna say you
Wrap it
download
up.
one Warzone in one fucking Warzone copy and it's full.
Does it have an SSD too? The Series S?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
it does.
I
But
was
it's
gonna say that much more expensive to put extra storage, but I guess if it's an SSD, it
yeah,
does.
No, I
usable
think the
storage, it
extra
has
storage is like the
300.
same price as the Series S.
It is. It is.
Jeez,
That's
Yeah.
one thing. Like this, the Series X/S, they have like this little like micro SD slot for like a proprietary SSD. Um, but it's like $250. So think about that. You're paying with that extended storage, you're gonna end up paying just as much for that as you are for the console. That's 300.
that's.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
I mean, even if you compare it to like the PS5, though, if you needed extra storage, I mean, 2 terabyte SSD is like the same exact price, or I mean, not the same exact price, but like half the price of a PS5. It's just
Mhm.
hopefully in a few years it gets a little more attainable, but for now, I can deal with the 800 or 600 or so
It's
gigs on
it,
PS5, but
it's
half that
because
S is it's a little stale, or not stale,
I'm stale. What is it?
not stale, but a little stingy. I mean,
It's
A little
because
stinky.
SSD has been around for like probably like 10, or it's been around for a minute, right? But now we're crossing the threshold of like it's being used in very large quantities. uh before, like, you could have like SSD running. Like, I had a laptop way back that had SSD like since 2015, but the storage is like 100 gigabytes, because SSD just naturally like costs more for that memory. But
yeah,
like, what is it? But I guess I could probably talk about like what I've been up to the past couple weeks. What is it? So right now I've been in Houston, actually, for my monthly trip. Now I'm here, and I've been here for actually a week since, like I flew out here on John's birthday, which was Sunday. So I've been here for exactly a week now. I'm gonna be here till Tuesday. And I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but Houston is actually where I was born and raised. Um, I actually have still like lived here for the majority of my life, actually. Funny enough, if to think about that. I lived here for like 12 years before I moved to Nebraska. But yeah, I've just been here visiting like friends and family, and everyone's been showing love. So, and I know some of you guys out here, you guys watch this, so shout out to you guys for showing love like family. But that's really all I've been up to, because honestly, I'm trying to think back to last week. I mean, I know I watched Back to the Future. I watched that before I even came out here. But well, actually, I could go ahead and get into one of our current events, because it's been a pretty big part of my past 2 weeks. And that's Halo's back, baby.
Halo is back.
Halo is back, baby. And I'll just give some preface, right? My history with Halo. I've always been a PlayStation guy, always. PS2, PS3, 4, 5, right? And I've gotten Xbox as a secondary console, but I didn't even get Xbox until Xbox One. Um, but Halo, Halo was like, that was my childhood. I didn't even own an Xbox, and Halo was my childhood, bro. Like, I would always, go over to my friend's place and we play through the campaigns and we play through the multiplayer together. So it's a really like it's a really important series for me. Um, and it's really so okay, I guess let me back myself up here. PS people don't know, Halo or 343 Industries, they actually went ahead and shadow dropped the multiplayer for Halo Infinite, and people started theory crafting this like 3 days, I would say, before the game before it happened. Like over the course of a weekend, people were pretty much like, "Yo, we think Microsoft is going to drop this on November 15th instead of December 8th, which is when the campaign is coming out." Because pretty much there's this theory that they were going to drop it to coincide with Halo's 20th anniversary. Um, and then people like went into the code of like the Microsoft store and like found like little lines of like code showing like November 15th release date for the multiplayer. Some people were like, oh my gosh, like first people thought it was a placeholder and it was just an error, but then over the weekend people were convinced that was actually happening, and lo and behold, it happened. But yeah, no, I'll just say this, like uh as someone who's like Halo was my childhood for a few years, really hard, like strong. It's awesome to see like a franchise like this that's been not dormant, but really has kind of fallen out of the spotlight for the past 10 years. Got its kind of spotlight taken by Call of Duty, by Battlefield. And there's a reason I'm mentioning those two franchises is because
Stinky.
yeah, because no, it's really like it's like a comeback story. It's like the ultimate comeback story that these series that really stole Halo's crown, because Halo was that game, bro. Halo was that shooter back in like in the 2000s. Now we're in a year where all three franchises have a release, and undoubtedly everyone can agree Halo's at the forefront. It's like it's on everyone's mind. Everyone I know has knows about it, or interested in it, or is playing it. Like so many people I know are playing it because it is free to play. Literally, just for reference, the people I'm staying at right now in Houston, uh, those are they're those people that I'm talking about, that I went to their house all the time and played Halo. And we would have LAN parties where it was like there's 12 of us. Oh, we'd all come over just to play 4-player split screen Halo. Like, it was crazy. And actually, when I came out here, it was so funny. I showed, because I knew they had that nostalgia too for Halo, and I showed them, what a time to be alive. I showed them Halo Infinite on streaming, on my iPhone, and we were playing it with a DualSense controller.
So
and
ridiculous.
yeah, and the older brother of my my good friend out here, he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And he just walked up and he saw that, and he was just like, holy shit. And he like snatched the controller from us and like was like hunched over, like just trying to play Halo on this like iPhone. And literally and this was the night I got here, and then the next morning he wakes up, he comes down into the kitchen, we're all just eating omelets or something, and he's like, yo, and he's talking to my friend. He's like, his younger brother. He's like, yo, make that shit happen. Get that shit today. Like, I don't care what it is. Like,
Get a
he's
Series
like,
X right now.
yeah, he's like, look right now. He's like,
Scalpers.
yeah, he's like, yeah, I'll get it from the scalper. He's like, budget. He's like, my ceiling $1,000, but like, make that shit happen. I want it tonight. Like, like, I'm playing Halo tonight.
Did he get it?
Yeah. Literally 5 hours later, we were at the Galleria, which is like the mall, here, like Drake raps about it a bunch on CLB. But we went there, we picked it up. It was funny because whenever you try to do these like pickups, these Facebook marketplace sales, everyone's pulling up with like a few people just in case something shady happens. So like, what is it? We pulled up, and what is it? I was like, yo, can we like check it? Can we make sure it's like legit? Because he got the resale was we found it for $650, which is like every other listing was like 800. So we're like, can we see if it's real, just to make sure? Because he said it was like unopened. So we opened it up, and I let him hold my iPhone 13. I was like, bro, you can hold this to make you feel comfortable, like for collateral. Uh, and yeah, it was legit. And yeah, we've been vibing out to Halo like we're back like how I was like 7 years old, bro. It's a really wholesome moment.
That's amazing. Did you guys end up getting multiple controllers or anything?
No, we've just been like trading off match by match. Like we'll be out throughout the day, and then at night, after a long day, we just sit down and we'll just play Halo for a few hours to kind of cap the night off. And we'll like kind of get a hookah bowl rolling, and we'll
Oh.
pass the hookah and pass pass the controller. And no, it's like it's super wholesome. Like when Halo hits, bro. Like I know for a lot of people it's just a shooter. Like, but like for me and a lot like for some I know for a lot of other people like bro, when Halo hit, when Halo was at its peak, it's like magical. Like, and that sounds kind of like dramatic, but like I'm sure you guys have that one franchise, from when you guys were younger that just hits, like different because of that, that was your thing when you were a kid.
Yeah.
So that's what it is for all of us here, like in this house that I'm staying at right now. So it was a really awesome moment that I got to come out here and we got to we got a Series X and we've been playing Halo. It's super awesome.
That's awesome. It's awesome that you guys didn't have to stream it the entire time too.
Yeah, that's what we were seeing if it was like viable. And it like streaming is viable, but not for shooters, sadly. Like it's a lot. Like you could like play Hades, but I don't know about Halo.
It's
But
cool.
it's awesome.
I'm already starting to see a lot of like trick shots and shit on TikTok, and it's
Oh,
ridiculous
really? There's Halo
that
TikTok
people are.
beyond that?
Yeah, dude. I don't know how it happened. The algorithm heard me talking about it or cross-referenced what I was doing on my Wi-Fi because I've been playing it too. Unfortunately, on an Xbox One, and it's silly because the graphics aren't insane. They're not anything insane. Like the art style is pretty simple, but it's probably 25 FPS, like solid 25 FPS. It's all right. But it
It's all
works.
right, I guess.
I mean, I can deal because it's Halo. And I haven't played a lot of Halo in like probably a decade now, but
Nobody
like
has.
literally, but like back when Nathan, like Jake and I used to hang out a lot, dude, we would play Halo for hours. Like we would sit there and play it from like the time I got there during a sleepover throughout the entire night. Like we'd stay up the entire night playing Halo, like Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo Reach. Those were the three main ones that we played. But yeah, I share that same sentiment a little bit, Ursel, because I never really had an Xbox,
Yeah.
but whenever I went to a friend's house that had one, that was all we played. And
Yeah,
that
and that
screen, whoo, I miss that.
yeah, and
Wish it was
like
more
it's like
common with games.
Call of Duty really took over, but like in the 2000s, like Halo just dominated, honestly. Like that's the thing that made you feel like a piece of shit for having a PlayStation back then. Because it's like
Literally. They're like,
especially
well, we have Halo.
yeah, and early PS3 days when PS3 was shit. Like that
Uh,
was crazy. But and then yeah, last thing I gotta say like on this one is I now it's just like now I'm waiting with I got my fingers crossed. I'm hoping that 343 can now just stick the landing with the campaign, which comes out on December 8th. I hope they, right, because we all know the gameplay is good. We all know the multiplayer is fantastic. So now it's like, can they provide on the full package? Now that's what everyone's waiting on. So, and we'll obviously talk about that. I know me and John will probably at the very least try out the campaign because we both got Xbox. So, but yeah, now I got my fingers crossed because it's Halo and it's Halo going open world. So I'm very curious how that's going to play out.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what the story's like. Hopefully it runs okay on Xbox One, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But speaking of new games, Andrew, I know you've been keeping up with Pokemon, Shining Pearl, the remake, or is it Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl? So
Yep.
tell us a little bit about how those have been.
So just like Arsenal dipping back into when I was the single digit age, Pokemon is back, baby. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl remakes finally came out after all the years of memes and everything. They're finally here. And I think my first thought was this game makes me appreciate Sword and Shield more in certain ways, but also makes me hate Sword and Shield a lot more. So, so basically, this is just like a 1-to-1 remake of like it's the exact DS game, just like obviously better graphics and some quality of life updates.
Right.
And you know, a lot of people weren't very happy, specifically Reddit, and you know, Reddit is a hive mind, so I'm not surprised. But
Reddit is a hive
everybody
mind.
everybody that's gotten these games that I've talked to personally are loving them so far. I mean, this is a game that this is like one of the first DS games I ever had, so it holds some serious nostalgic weight for me. And I'm glad they're out, and I'm glad they can play them on Switch. And yeah, me and my sister are talking about it. Me and Ted, shout out Ted, my old roommate, we're like trading on there like we're 9 years old again and shit.
That's amazing.
But it's fun. Like all the remastered music bangs. I like the new art style. I know, like, okay, I had a very long rant to these guys about fucking game reviewers and how like like this game specifically was like a red mark on like gaming journalism, because I could not find a review that
7.8
actually,
too much water.
yeah, basically, yeah, I could not find a single review. I mean, I didn't look very deep, but just looking at like the summaries on Metacritic, I could only find like a handful that actually criticized the game. Most of the low scores were because of like the art style. And I'm like, okay, I don't fucking like, give me some stuff about the game. Like, I don't care about if the art style isn't what you like, or giving a game a bad review because there's stuff that didn't get in that you wanted in. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, there were people that bitched about the Smash like DLC characters because it wasn't like Master Chief, or it wasn't Crash Bandicoot or whatever. And I'm like, dude, like, you're gonna review this game bad because you don't get what you want? Like, you suck. Like,
Give it
your review copy should be revoked forever.
yeah, give it a real critique, not just some BS opinion that you have about it. Like, there's opinions that are like valid, and then there's ones that are just stupid. I mean, it's a 1-to-1 remake. Like, what do they expect
Yeah.
out of
They
it?
told us it was going to be a 1-to-1 remake. They literally told everybody right away. They're like, this is a 1-to-1 remake. This is the exact game, just with quality of life improvements and visual and audio improvements. And people are like, well, why didn't we get this that was in Sword and Shield? It's
Why
like,
didn't
well,
we
because
get
it's
an
not Sword and
expanded
Shield,
area?
you fucking moron. Like,
Why didn't
go
we
play
get
Sword and Shield. I don't know. Like I just don't understand it. If people can give a game whatever score they want, but at least like make it justifiable and like make it like
Yeah,
an actual
exactly.
review. Like dude, like if you don't like the art style, like I don't fucking care. Like just
Art
tell me
style
how the
sucks.
game
1 out
is.
of 10.
Yeah, like people did that for the Zelda Link's Awakening remake. They were like reviewing it bad because they didn't like the art style. I'm like, why does it matter? Like, like I don't play, like there's like, who's playing Nintendo games because the art style bangs? Like nobody. You're playing it because it's a fun game. Like I
Yeah,
just don't,
like
I don't understand it.
I feel like for review scores, like obviously subjectivity is gonna affect the final score, but I feel like some basis of the like of that rating has to be like the objective values of whatever you're reviewing, you know?
Yeah, and like when you give like Nintendo Life specifically, giving like the original games a 9.5 out of 10 and then giving the remakes a 6 because the art style is bad, like what kind of fucking dumbassery is that? How do you give a game a 9.5 and then like they change the art style and they're like, oh, 6? Like
Exactly.
that doesn't even make any sense. Then you're just trying to like jump on like the fuck Pokemon bandwagon, which I knew they were gonna do. But
That's so silly. Did you end up getting Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl or both?
I got Diamond. Kelsey, I got Kelsey Pearl for Christmas. I just gave it to her early.
Oh, nice. So that you guys could
So
trade and shit.
yeah, yeah. So
So
I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm about like halfway through the story mode and I'm 15 hours in. So
damn.
it's yeah, it's people on Reddit, like I think they just like to complain because I was on this one thread, and somebody was like, well, like should I get it? Like is it worth it? And I'm like, well, yeah, it's like a 1-to-1 remake. It's just got better visuals and quality of life updates. And the guy replied, he's like, well, what's stopping me from playing the originals? And I'm like, literally fucking nothing. Why did you even bother asking?
Yeah, like
Well,
if
aren't
you
the
want to
older
play the
ones
original,
super expensive now?
Well, yeah, the older ones cost like $60 to $80 to get an actual copy of. Like, so if you don't already have it, like, you might as well just buy the Switch version if you already have a Switch.
Exactly.
So he's like, well, what's stopping me? I'm like, literally nothing is stopping you. Just go. Why did you even bother asking if you were just gonna come back with that question? Like,
Yeah. It's like it's almost like he's trying to get people not to buy it or something. Like you're
yeah,
stop people from buying this game. Like, and if you play through it, Andrew, and you're like, yes, absolutely, like you need to get it, and if you want to try Pokemon, like I'll let you borrow it, dude. I would definitely play through a little bit of it.
well, I think it's a good intro game because it's like the older games did a good job of like introducing you to how it works without like hand holding for hours. So I think just specifically how basic the game was back in 2006 when the originals came out. Like I think it's definitely, if you like are trying to get into it, you could either wait for Legends or you could get this if it's like on sale or something. But
You can
I
share
mean,
cartridges, right? With Switch.
yeah, but I bought it digitally.
Oh,
GG.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I knew I would like it and keep it, so I just got the digital.
Well, I don't know if you had anything else to say on that, Andrew, but speaking of shitty review scores and review scores that don't match what the actual product was, the final product, Casey and I actually saw Eternals as well on my birthday. I didn't mention that in the how you doing section, but I figured I'd save it since Ursula and I have finally both seen it. Um, like Ursula mentioned a couple weeks back, and like I just mentioned, I think the critics definitely were way off. And it's funny because I saw the Rotten Tomatoes score like sub 50% or around that. And I didn't even bother looking at the reviews or the complaints. I just wanted to go in with just like a totally open mind. And I figured it'd be, a typical MCU movie and that it couldn't be that bad. And I was right. And Ursula was right too. Like it's it's honestly like this movie has a lot of really great moments, I think. And I think it does a really good job considering it has like 11 main characters. I think it does a really good job of building those characters and explaining itself and setting the stakes of, the the cosmic um big bad, I guess, of this story. But my only real complaint with Eternals is that I think it's a little too long. Um, I think that some of the beginning scenes that were set way before like any of the events of the regular Avengers or MCU films, the beginning events in like in the past, like in Babylon and stuff, like I thought they were a little out of place or like maybe they could have been inserted in the film later on and would have made a little more sense, but it seemed pretty front loaded with like um backflashes essentially. Uh but to me the plot was honestly super interesting. I mean these guys were essentially working together to stop like an Avengers big bad level event from destroying the entire Earth. Um, and honestly, to keep it short, and I'll pass it to you, Ursel, to maybe give your thoughts too. But I'd probably give this movie like a solid 8 out of 10. Um, I thought it was a beautiful movie. It didn't feel very CGI forward like other MCU movies. It felt a lot more real in that regard, and the CGI that was there was really good and looked really good. Um, the cast and characters I thought were really well done. And like I said, I think it was just a little bit too long. And some of the scenes in the first like 30 to 40 minutes to me seemed a little out of place. And like once the story got to, 2021 or the year that Endgame was out, I believe, or like that era or that time in the MCU, Once it finally got to that point, like 40 minutes in, it explained itself again. And like I feel like the first 30 to 40 minutes were totally unnecessary because it did a really good job of explaining itself again, like right there. But yeah, I mean, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. So I don't think it's nearly in the 40 or 50% range on Rotten Tomatoes. I think that's silly. And I really don't understand like how reviewers like come together and give something a bad score when it doesn't deserve it. But I enjoyed it. But Ursula, what did you think of it now that we've both seen it?
Yeah. So, I'd say, not in any sort of concerted effort. More often than not, we usually do agree with critic consensus. But like obviously, like I said, it's not a concerted effort. So when we don't match up, we'll say it. But yeah, no, I think kind of echoing my thoughts and John's thoughts, but my thoughts also from a few weeks ago. That yeah, I think the critics are a little, I don't know, maybe a little extra harsh on this film. I'm not sure why. But no, I really enjoyed it, and I don't. It's like I'm not getting where all the negative sentiment is coming from, because this is, first of all, this is not the the worst MCU product I've seen, and second, it's not even the worst MCU thing I've seen this year. you know?
In Falcon and or what Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah. And I'm like, and you can go on Rotten Tomatoes right now. And I don't have it pulled up right in front of me, but I'm pretty sure Falcon and the Winter Soldier has like 80, like 87 or something on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's like, bro, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier sucked.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, that shit was,
Anyway.
yeah, like bad for MCU standards, I feel like very middle of the line, very forgettable.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we gave it like honestly, even that show, I feel like I was a little too nice about, but I'm pretty sure we gave that at like a 6.5. But no, I thought this was a really fun ride, honestly, at the end of the day. The one thing that I loved throughout this whole film was the camaraderie between uh all 10 Eternals. I loved, it felt like it was one big family, and not everyone was kind of had their, people had issues with each other, people loved each other. And I thought it was a super interesting story of, and a lot of like a really interesting concept as well, like about like what the whole overarching story is about, regarding these celestials and these Eternals, and how not only does it answer why they didn't interfere with Thanos's like snap, but also um what the repercussions of that, like it ties into those events, funny enough, very well. um uh and there's a lot of good callbacks, or like kind of like, oh, like this, we're still, throughout this entire year of MCU products, we've really been uh it's really been about kind of like the reaction and the effects of Thanos' snap. I feel like for a lot of these movies and TV shows that have come out this past year, and even Eternals like tackles that in very interesting ways, but more on a very like cosmic level, like the repercussions on a universal scale. Um, and also, I'll say this: I love the cinematography as well in this film. That, like I was telling John, there's specifically a really beautiful shot when if you guys have seen the trailers, it's this I think his name is Erisham. Uh,
Yeah.
he kind of looks like Galactus in the trailers, but there's a shot uh, a few times throughout the movie where they kind of like teleport somewhere and like are speaking to him, and it's an extremely beautiful wide shot. One of the like most beautiful shots in the MCU. Like I loved it, like seeing in trailers, like whoa, like this looks crazy, because you just see like you see like the Eternal that might be talking to them, and that person is just like a small dot, and it's just this huge wide shot, and you won't, and it's showing the scale of this dude, and you can only see his eyes, you can't even see his entire figure, and that was a really really gorgeous shot that like is like stuck in my head, even now, like 2 or 3 weeks after watching the film. I would say problems with the film. Yeah, John, I do think it is a little too long. And I also think it kind of jumps back and forth a lot between in flashbacks. I don't remember. I think I mentioned that when I talked about it a few weeks ago, but I think I just kind of kept it general and said, oh, it jumps around a lot. You probably, yeah, John, like,
Yeah, I
you get what I
remember
mean now.
that.
Um, yeah, it kind of jumps around a lot, especially in the first half. It's just like because it's really like this grand story that takes place across thousands of years. But I feel like it could have been done better. Um, and maybe it could have gone in chronological order where uh we see everything happen up to where they separate, and then we see that they have to regather after that. But no, but besides that, it's a little too long. It kind of the flow is a little all over the place in my opinion. Like especially in the first half. And then also I feel like um, what is it? It it has kind of like that stereotypical, like CGI battle at the end. But honestly, I didn't mind that battle because there was a lot of emotional stake in it. The only kind of, and this is a personal nitpick, right? At this point, this was the first time the uh, where like the after credits happened, and I wasn't like rubbed in a wrong way, but I was kind of just like, I was, how do I put this? I wasn't like as on board with it anymore, like because I feel like there's always kind of like in the MCU that next thing, like, oh, like there's this new thread that's opening up, like another plot arc, another thing that's about to happen. And John, did you stay through for both
Yeah,
of
I
yeah
did.
yeah, like, and the first one that one, it was a meme. That one was definitely a meme. And I won't spoil it like Facebook does, but that second one, I mean, it's cool because it involves, I'm not going to get into it, but it involves Jon Snow. But I don't know, it seemed a little out of left field. Like it was just kind of like, what? Like and it just seemed like, okay, like another, like this is like another plot arc, like another, out of nowhere, like another storyline, another thread opening up. And maybe it just kind of like soured me a little because I know nothing about this, and it just seemed like completely out of left field to me. I don't know if you had any similar sentiments about that, John.
Well, not exactly out of left field. I was just more so confused. I was
Yeah,
like, okay, like where is this going? And I had to Google like why or like what was the significance of it. And usually with end credit scenes, I feel like I can kind of like start to predict where it's going. But this one I was like, I was a little
yeah,
unsure. But
and I think it's kind of just a little jarring for me as a viewer, because it's like Endgame was felt like a really like a bow tie on like a whole era of the MCU, and now we're kind of ramping back up and ramping back up, and I think everything up to this point has been kind of like looking back, and reflecting on a lot of the stuff that happened because of Endgame, and now like with Eternals, specifically Eternals end credits, it's like we're kind of back in this position where we're looking forward again. So it's kind of like, oh shit, I need to like, I kind of need to wrap my head around the fact that like the MCU is kind of like gearing back up again. We had these few years of downtime, and now we're entering not phase two, but like maybe like chapter two, the next saga. So I
I'm
need
still
to,
trying to figure out who the big bad's gonna be.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Phase.
like probably it's probably Kang, right?
It
But
could be
there's
Kang, but there's like
hints
I
of
feel
Galactus.
like there's just more. I feel like it might be Galactus. They might just go straight there. And like Kang will be more of like an Ultron level villain comparatively to like Galactus. But who knows? Maybe they'll do that in like a not phase three, obviously, but like a chapter three.
Yeah, the world is their oyster, especially now with the multiverse stuff. Like, and we're gonna see that with Spider-Man.
And
Um,
I'm buying tickets tomorrow. Just whoever listens to this podcast today, I would probably recommend if you want to see it day one to buy tickets on Cyber Monday because I feel like this might be the first movie in a while that like actually sells out.
yeah, for
Potentially.
real.
So
So like, so I guess I can go ahead and give it a score too. Like, I'd probably give it like a 7 out of 10. I think it's a good movie, and it's an enjoyable ride. It has its issues, and sometimes it does feel like it's trying to break out of that usual MCU trapping. But uh, I think this is like this fits well in line with other MCU films. I don't think this is a I really don't know where all this extremely negative reaction has been to this film. And like I said, I don't even think it's the worst MCU thing I've seen this year. And honestly, I'm trying to like be more cognizant of my scores because I'll admit right now I was too generous for Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
yeah, you
um,
a 7. I haven't pulled up right now. You're
yeah,
giving Winter Soldier a 7. I think I gave it a 6.5, but that 6.5, I would almost drop it
yeah,
in
no, I'd probably
retrospect.
get no. In retrospect, I'd probably give Falcon and the Winter Soldier like a 5.5.
Whoo!
Like like it's average. That's average. Like it's not. I don't know. Yeah,
Not
I don't know.
terrible, yeah, but it's
Yeah,
for MCU.
yeah, and time kind of makes things clear like that.
Exactly.
Uh,
I
Time
agree.
clears all. Uh, but yeah, no, I would give. No, I think Eternals is a good film. Like, so like, yeah, honestly, like it's probably like 7.5. But for now, I'll say 7 out of 10. So that probably brings our score to 7.5.
Yep. 7.5 for Eternals for now. So, and who knows, maybe once the MCU, this next phase develops a little more, maybe we'll look back on Eternals and be like, oh my gosh, like this was insane.
And yeah, this I'll say that's one thing I'll say. Like, I hope that the negative scores, like I hope Kevin Feige and the Marvel execs, like I hope they can stand their ground a little, and not be too weathered by these negative scores because I do think the Eternals have a lot of potential, and it would be a shame, especially with this amazing cast. Genuinely, there's an amazing cast in this film. To see them get pushed off to the side because of I think this unjust negative reception.
Yeah, and maybe it is just because it's such an all-star cast and an MCU film. Maybe they're just like, let's kick them down a notch. I don't know. I don't understand the critic reviews, but yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much wraps up our current events for this week. So we'll just get on into the main topic. All right, guys, and now we're going to be getting into our main topic for this week, and that is the first part to Back to the Future. I've been bothering these guys about it since the beginning of the podcast, I'm pretty sure. Been wanting to review these, talk about these, but yeah, so let's get right into it. Um, so I guess we'll just go around and talk about some of our general thoughts real quick. So I'll start us off. Um, Obviously, as you could probably tell, I love this movie. I can't remember specifically like the first time I watched it, actually. I wish I did. And maybe my dad, if he's listening, he might be able to text me or give me a call and let me know when the first time we all watched them was. But I've seen all three of these many times, and I love them each a little more each time that I see them. There's a surprising amount of like Easter eggs that you notice and little things that change throughout the different years that Marty and Doc are involved with that you don't notice unless you see it like 2, 3, 4, 5 times. I'm probably at like a dozen. um, like one of my favorite Easter eggs actually is right at the beginning of the first part. Um, there's a little like sculpture of the clock tower,
Hmm.
and it's got literally a guy hanging from like the minute hand. Um, so I had actually not noticed that until this most recent viewing, and I sent it to my dad, and he thought he got a kick out of it because he was like, "Wow, it's like foreshadowing." Um, but overall, I think that Back to the Future Part One, it's a really iconic movie. with a really thought out storyline. And to me, it doesn't really have many dull moments. But Andrew, what about you? What are kind of your general thoughts on Back to the Future Part 1?
So this was the first time I actually had watched Back to the Future 1. I actually realized when I was watching this movie that I've seen Back to the Future 2, but not number 1.
Oh my
Like,
god.
I thought the plot of number 2 was the plot of number 1. So,
Do overlap a little bit. So
yeah, well, okay, my brain always like connected, like I always thought the one where they went to 2015 was Back to the Future 1 because it's like the future. But I apparently it's not. So I did enjoy it though. I can see why it's so iconic. It's a really good movie, and it like it does enough to get to be a great movie without being like super long, because I think it's only like an hour and 20-30 minutes maybe.
it's like an
So
hour 40. Yeah,
oh, okay.
but not too crazy.
I mean, it's a pretty relatively compared to like today, it's a pretty short movie, which is, I mean, I like when movies can get to the point really quick. And there were a lot of moments where I was like when his siblings started disappearing and stuff, I was like, Jesus, like this shit's like stressful now. Like
Right.
all that stuff. But yeah, I really liked it. And I can definitely see why people like it a lot.
What about
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. So funny enough, somehow this happened to me too, as well as Andrew. I thought I know there's some overlap, so I might not be tripping. But yeah, I definitely a lot of the okay. The whole plot of him in another timeline trying to like make sure that his parents are still together. Like I swear part two has something similar going on with that, because that's what I thought like that's what I remember. Like I said, I remember part two, that's like what the storyline was, where like he's trying to make sure that people stay together or get together or something like that, so he doesn't disappear or something along those lines.
That was more
That's
so, yeah, part 2.
okay. I'm glad I'm not tripping, because that's like what I remember. Like, oh, like I remember part two really well. And I know there's still some overlap, like there's the scene from this film where he's on the skateboard and he's kind of like escaping the bullies on the in the plaza. Like there's a variant of that obviously in part two
Yep.
that I remember. But no, like just kind of watching this with kind of not a clean plate or a clean slate. But now I can comprehend it and I can like really remember it for what it is now. No, I absolutely love this film. It's got this it's got that X factor, like something you just can't. I don't know if you can totally put your finger on it, but it's it's cinema at its most classic, and it's a movie that I don't know if Back to the Future, if it came out today, it would work, but it came out at the right time, at the right moment, and it's almost like it's got that cool old school like flair to it. But um, I don't know. There's a wonder to it, but there's also like a simplicity to it. And I know I'm kind of like being paradoxical with how I'm describing it, but like I don't know, John. Maybe you probably get what I'm saying here, but there's that just that like it's really like while I was watching it, I just kept
It's like
thinking to
an
myself,
instant classic.
yeah. When I was watching it, I was just like, this is like I was like this like when people think about like Holly like cinema, right? Or like that movie magic, like Back to the Future is like it's that quintessential movie,
Yeah.
it takes a this grand concept, this, and it's like an original movie, it's not a series, it became a franchise, but it was an original film, an original concept. It takes this high concept idea and makes it, and it brings it down to a really personal level. Like it's really, at the end of the day, just a story about, making sure these two people get into a relationship. And
Yeah. It
but the
didn't start
backdrop,
that way either.
yeah, but the backdrop of it is super extraordinary, and really just a fun time. Like this movie is just an absolutely great time. So I absolutely loved it now, and I'm glad I got to finally rewatch it after all these years. And I'm excited to watch the second one and the third one because I've seen the first two, but I've never seen the third one. So, I'm excited for one day when we do episodes on the second and third. But yeah, I absolutely love this film. I don't want to get ahead of myself, John.
Yeah, definitely. So let's get on into one of the most iconic parts of the film, in my opinion, and something that really like keeps the charm up for it, I think, is the music. Um, like I love how it starts off in like Doc's office with Marty and The Power of Love is playing. And obviously I really like when Marty later in the film plays Johnny Be Good in the past because my name is Jonathan B. Wood. So it's like I've always loved that. And then obviously like the Back to the Future theme is iconic in the movie industry. And I think anyone can recognize it. Like when you guys heard the Back to the Future theme, like Andrew specifically, seeing it for the first time, had you heard the Back to the Future song before it?
Yeah, I'd heard it before.
Yeah, it's just like one of those classic movie themes, like Jurassic Park or like Jaws, where like you don't really know how you heard it, or even Star Wars, I feel like, but it's one of those scores that like just everyone's heard.
Yeah,
And
there's so many. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, and it's super iconic, and it's one of my favorite like movie theme songs. Da 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 da. It's just
Yeah,
it's so good.
there's so many things, and that's kind of like there's so many things about this movie that even if you have never ever just ever seen Back to the Future, there's so many things that you'll just subconsciously recognize, that are just iconic. The DeLorean, you know,
Yeah,
Doc's crazy hair, his what is it, like his little jacket that he wears.
the white
Just
lab coat.
yeah, like or no, the one like Marty McFly, you
Oh,
know.
The life preserver.
Yeah, the life
yeah.
preserver. I mean the name Marty McFly. Like just and then there's so many iconic or just like the scene, like there's so much iconography, like the shot of them standing there with like the flames underneath their legs. There's the
Right.
the amount of iconic stuff in this film is off the charts. It's
Literally,
not just the music. Yeah, it's
it's
every
like it's almost like a museum of just like iconic movie moments, but they're
yeah,
all within this movie. Like it's so charming. Like
yeah.
almost everything about this movie is just charming, from its music to those scenes that you mentioned, like when they first see the DeLorean with Doc's dog, when Doc's dog goes through,
Hmm.
um, like they look back and they see the trail of fire behind them. Like, dude, I love that shit. And the DeLorean, like, ever since seeing Back to the Future, I've always like wanted one. And you guys know this about me, like, or Andrew knows this
Everyone wants a
about me.
DeLorean, bro.
Yeah, and Andrew knows this about me. Like, that's my
Hey,
main
you got
car,
it, bro. That's your Rocket League car.
Rocket League car, and that's the car that I'm trying to
Out of time.
literally. And it doesn't even say that on the license plates in the actual movie, but out of time is on the license plate in the Rocket League car. But um, I also have been trying to get that car in Hot Wheels, the game I've been playing
It's in
recently.
Hot Wheels.
Yeah, it's one of the rarest cars that you can get. You have to get it from like a blind box drop. So it's just like a random, kind of like a treasure chest that you earn from doing races.
The
Um,
loot box.
And
yeah,
even
essentially. But yeah, the
John's
DeLorean.
gambling to get the DeLorean. He's invested.
I mean,
Essentially,
even the DeLorean in real life is so rare, like because it was only manufactured for a very small amount of years.
yeah, it was like 2 years that it was actually manufactured for. And it's actually like kind of a crappy car when it
Yeah,
comes,
yeah.
but maybe that's why they used it as a prop for Back to the Future. Maybe back then it was like it was really cheap or something. But
No,
This
I heard back then it was even like considered like a luxury. It was
really
just yeah, like everyone knew it was kind of made shitly, but it was like it looked cool, you know?
They
those
should have used a Pontiac Montana minivan.
Yeah, I think a Pontiac minivan would have been a lot more iconic.
Yeah, you're right.
The sliding doors.
What did you guys have any moments or like music specifically that stood out besides the ones I just mentioned, like Johnny Be Good or the theme song or anything? Because I
I
know
think you hit it.
they played in the dance as well toward the end.
I was gonna say the dance. Yeah,
Earth
like
Angel.
and like that has one of my favorite lines in the film where it's like where Marty is like he's like, oh, maybe you guys aren't ready for that, but your kids are gonna love it,
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That was a huge meme for years, dude.
And everyone's like, this dude's a fucking weirdo.
whole lot of red.
Literally.
Fucking he starts playing in Back to the Future reboot. He's playing Vamp Anthem in 1956. They like burn him
Yeah.
at the stake for like summoning the devil.
Your
Yeah,
grand
bro. How would 1950s that how would that wait, what was that dance called? The Under the Sea, right? What was it?
Yeah, yeah.
under the sea dance.
Yeah. How did they have reacted if Vamp Anthem started playing, bro? Yeah.
Hey, just
Like,
remember, just
Keyboard.
remember, Playboy Cardi could sing "Here Comes the Sun" by the Beatles, but the Beatles could never make Vamp Anthem.
It's true, dude. It's true. And it's, dude, imagine Marty comes out with a freaking keyboard and he's like, "Bennett."
Boom, 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 boom.
Maybe you guys aren't ready for that, but your grandkids are gonna love it.
Your
you know,
grandkids
you
are
know,
gonna love it.
Great
what is
grand.
it? But it made me remember is like one thing I want to mention about this film is I think it's so funny how much of a character everybody in this film is. Like everyone is everyone has a part to play in this story, but they like take it to 100. Like it's just like like his mom, Marty's mom, like it's like this chick is the most down bad chick ever.
Literally. Like,
I,
oh my gosh, taking that like Luke and Leia storyline to the extreme here.
yeah, and it's so funny because it's like like when they're talking about stuff, like talking about the past at their dinner table at the beginning of the film, like that they're setting things up to be spun around, once he goes back, like when you can just tell, like when he's in town, when he's in 1985 at the beginning, and you see like kind of the pan, like the shots are focusing on the car driving by with the mayor's sign, and all these things. It's like, okay, they're trying to get you visually accustomed and everything. They're trying to accustom you to everything that's the norm right now, so that they can subconsciously flip it, once he does go back to 1955. And even in those conversations where his mom is like, oh yeah, like back then, I would never chase a boy, and then literally that's all she's doing when he goes back, so down bad, and it's so funny. Isn't he a dream?
Down
Calvin Klein.
tremendously.
Yeah, Calvin.
Well, that's what it says on your underwear.
That's like, bro, that's like it's so funny because it's just like it's a messed up, but it's just also a hilarious situation that he's in. His
Which,
mom is trying to get with him.
and it's like those are like kind of the Easter egg things I'm talking about, and that you don't really notice, but like literally everything changes. Everything
Mhm.
changes from the time in 1985 to when they go back to 1955. And it's crazy to see that, like, that level of attention to detail when they made this is just insane. And it is kind of like corny with how the characters do really like 100% invest themselves in their role. Like Biff, for example, he's
Like
like
he's the
this
jock.
he's this jock but he's like this over the top antagonist that's like that there's like literally no redeeming qualities to him at all. Like he is the antagonist and you don't root for him
Yeah,
at
he's the scummiest motherfucker in the world.
a lot of movies, will try and get you to maybe root for the antagonist a little bit. But like Biff,
No, Biff's a straight up fuckhead.
and you hate him, and like they really make you hate him. And his voice, oh my gosh.
Anything up there, McFly?
Oh my gosh.
The and that's kind of what I was thinking. I was also like that's the main point of like why I don't think this film would work today, because it's like so like not everyone plays like kind of like a stereotypical role in this. We got the bully, the the nerdy guy, the cool guy, like the crazy doctor, like, but it just works for like when this movie came out and the time period. It's so quintessentially like like cinema, like I keep saying that, but like I don't think it would work today, but it just works perfectly for like when it was made.
Right. And like they've remade or made spin-offs of like Ghostbusters. Please don't ever do that with Back to the Future. Let's leave Back to the Future alone.
Hey, I heard that new Ghostbusters movie's decent.
Really?
Yeah,
that's
I
what I've
heard that
heard.
too.
Huh.
Because I heard it's because it's like an actual like sequel
Sequel.
to it's a sequel to Ghostbusters, the OG one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not a
Interesting.
reboot like the all-female one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, I mean, if they did do something with Back to the Future, I could see it. I mean, if we're talking about making movies that or remaking movies that have iconic cars like Ghostbusters, then this would be the next one up with the DeLorean. But yeah, like, I mean, dude, there's so much to this movie that just like it makes it an instant classic. Um, and I know we've kind of gotten into maybe a little bit of talk on the characters a little bit. Um, so what were your guys' like favorite characters? Andrew, maybe you start us off. Did you have a favorite character or least favorite character?
I mean, Marty McFly is probably my favorite, just because I think the amount of comedy they wrote into the script for him is like just the perfect amount, where he's like, you don't think he's like a boring protagonist, but you also don't think he's like an over the top jackass who's just like this big dummy. I mean, I think the funniest parts are when he's like back in the past, like eating dinner with the family, and he keeps like forgetting that he's like 30 years in the past. He's like, oh, I just watched this one yesterday, like this is a classic. You're like, what do you mean it's a classic? That's brand new. Like how he has to like keep remembering like when he meets like his uncle Joey as a kid, and they're like, oh, like he loves being in there, we just keep him in there all the time, and he's like, better get used to it, kid.
Yeah, like better get used to being behind these bars, kid.
Yeah, like they wrote his character so well. I mean, I don't know if there is a worse character, just because they're all written so well for like the role they're supposed to play. I mean, obviously Biff's a huge douche, but like, I mean, that doesn't mean he's a bad character. Like he plays that character perfectly.
He does.
I can give you my least favorite character easily.
I
That's
think I
without
know who it's gonna be, and I probably have the same, but go ahead.
I gotta say, bro, and okay, I know it's intentional, right? So this is not me dogging on the film, but George McFly,
Yes.
I do.
Yeah, that is true.
George
Such a
McFly sucks. Like, bro, I wanted to strangle this dude multiple times while I was watching the
Yeah,
film.
that is probably my least favorite. Like the first time he ever laughs, I was just like, holy shit, I'm gonna throw my TV out the window, bro.
Yeah, like, and oh my god, bro, like it's like he's just yeah, like the stereotypical like kind of nerdy loser, and it's just like the dude is so like unaware of everything that's happening around him, and like, bro, if
Your destiny. The way he talks, man.
yeah, I'm your density,
I'm your density.
and like
No,
uh,
destiny.
I and the one funny thing about the story is like, bro, like imagine if you just someone that you never met in your life ever, right? All of a sudden is like there with you day in and day out. And he keeps just bugging you about like trying to get with this girl, this dude that you like never met before. Is just
Literally.
on your ass, like, bro, like, come on, bro, pipe down. like like I thought that was hilarious.
We're just like, I've never even met this girl. Like,
Yeah,
like
literally.
Marty convinces him.
But yeah, George McFly, bomb alert. Bomb radar going off. And literally, like, oh my god, I wish this is one of those moments where I wish podcasting was a visual medium, because I would just be pulling up like slide after slide of like this terrible photos of George McFly, bro. Like oh, God,
Cringe
there's
moments.
yeah, cringe moments, like when he's like, get your it literally, I don't know, have you guys seen those TikToks where it's like, hey, you're hurting her.
I don't know if I have.
Oh,
Oh yeah. No, I think I've seen one or two.
I was like, bro, that's literally George McFly's character. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, back off. Hey, Biff, you're hurting her.
Passive. He's just so passive. But like it is his character because I mean that's at that point in the story, it's almost like, okay, Marty's trying to help his dad improve his confidence, and like and that is the point of his character, is that he's like super not confident. He's got none of it. He's a
Bro,
loser.
imagine out alphaing your dad.
It's just such a funny concept, like the whole thing and the whole way it works and everything that happens. Like he travels back in time with the intention of saving Doc in the beginning because Doc gets shot, but then he ends up running out of fuel, and then he encounters his mom in the way that his dad was supposed to. Like, dude, it's just the whole thing is bonkers, and the way that it like this is just perfect storytelling in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like everything is just cause and effect, simple, easy to understand. But
And I'm sorry. I just want to say, like, also kind of going off of Andrew's point, like, I do think, yeah, Marty McFly is hands down obviously the best character, and he is so well written that he strikes this perfect balance of, yeah, I was just joking, like he out alphas his dad, but like, uh, but no, he strikes this perfect balance of like he's cool, but you almost, you can like put yourself in his shoes. He's relatable, but he's got that like he's got that cool like aura to him, and he really, I don't know how he did it. I don't know if this was Michael J. Fox or the director or like how, but they struck that perfect balance. Like, that's what I think. There's a lot of things that just strike this perfect balance, this X factor. Like, so many different factors of this movie hit that perfect mark. And that's why Marty McFly is like so awesome.
yeah.
He's that perfect combination of both worlds.
And I think Marty McFly is probably my favorite character too. But
I mean,
not
Doc's a
to
close
mention
second,
Doc.
obviously.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Doc is incredible, and he plays his part so perfectly too. And like I just think it was like super cool how he interacted with Marty, in the past in 1955, and like the way that Marty had to prove to Doc that he truly was from the future and that Doc really did create this time machine. And then like Doc somehow 30 years prior in 1955, 30 years before he made the flux capacitor, which allows them to time travel in general, he believed it and he was able to understand the science enough to get Marty back in the end, back to the future. But it's so crazy, like literally everything.
Great Scott.
Great Scott, and the catchphrases, like, oh my gosh, when Marty says like this is heavy, and Doc's like, is the Earth's gravitational pull like heavy.
Why is everything in the future so heavy?
Why is everything so heavy? Like, dude, it's I can't say enough about this movie, and it's really one that you just need to watch and like really invest yourself into to get all of its charm, because it's charming as hell, and the characters are charming, even down to Biff. Like, dude, Biff is low-key annoying. But his voice is terrible, like Marty McFly. Like,
Why you make him sound like Yoda?
yeah, that
Why, Marty?
he's just got that like up and down with his tone. More so Griff in the future, like in 2015 in the second one, he's more so like that. But he's just
Spoilers.
as this one.
Okay.
Yeah, don't spoil it for everybody listening.
Shoot, sorry guys.
Yeah, it's not like it came out like 30 years ago.
Almost 40.
I think we're almost to the 30-year anniversary of it, actually.
Dude, didn't it come out in 1980?
I want to say 81.
Then that's 40 years.
Oh, 40 years. Yeah. Holy crap. I'm old.
But
Back
they
to
did
the
reboot
Future.
Back to the Future. Future rebooted this series himself.
Future the rapper. Why hasn't he made an album called Back to the Future yet?
Lo and behold,
Back
do you
to
guys
the
want to make
future.
you want to make a second guess? You want to make a more educated guess on when Back to the Future came out?
November.
The year in the fucking movie.
Yes, exactly. Literally 1985. It came out in 1985.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense.
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future. Oh man. But honestly, I mean, there's a lot to talk about with this movie, but and there's a lot of little things and little charming moments that we could probably talk about really all day, but let's get to some of the bigger things. Like, what were your guys' favorite scenes and moments? I don't know if any of us are going to have any least favorite scenes, but if you have one, definitely point it out. I guess I can start us off with a couple of my favorites. I actually think like the first chase with Biff after the diner scene where Marty first meets his dad, George, and then Biff runs his
beta
car.
male dad.
Yeah. And Biff runs his nice like 1955 Ford into the truck full of manure with Marty following him or skateboarding away from him. Dude, like that whole scene is great because not only is it like it's iconic, it's in its own way, but like there's so many little things that you notice in that scene that really like set the tone and set the stage for the fact that it is 30 years in the past. And you see like the clock tower looks brand new, it's working, whereas in 1985 at the beginning of the movie, in the present, quote unquote, it's not working because of the lightning strike that happened to it in 1955, but it's working in this point. And then like there's different buildings and stuff, and like there's no mall, obviously. It's like a cornfield at that time. But just like the first chase scene, in my opinion, was one of my favorites because it really did set the setting and made it very believable that Marty went back those 30 years. And obviously, I think this is probably one of all of our favorite scenes. The very end, where we're all on the edge of our seat and we're waiting for this lightning strike and everything's going wrong. Marty's late to get to the Doc is hanging from the side of the clock tower, and he finally is able to like plug in the cord that's needed to connect the lightning bolt and the power of it to the light pole that like Marty is supposed to run into with the DeLorean. But lo and behold, another thing goes wrong. And once Doc gets it plugged in at the top of the clock tower, it's now unplugged way at the bottom of the right by
like
the
nothing can go right.
And again, it just like it really speaks to what Ursula was talking about earlier, in that like quintessential like Hollywood film is like you're on the edge of your seat and everything seems to be going wrong, but they figure out a way, and it's just like you're on the edge of your seat every time. And I've seen this movie a dozen times, and I'm and I'm on the edge of my seat every single time. But those are a couple of my favorite scenes. I also really like the very end where Doc's like, hey, where we're going, we don't need roads. And then
Yes.
the DeLorean,
The final line of the movie.
literally the final line.
Goated line.
It's so dope. And that's another line that like you don't really know where, maybe you don't know where you heard it, but like you know that line, or it's iconic in its own way. Like every scene of this movie is just ingrained in like Hollywood and movie history. It's crazy. And I'm pretty sure that it wasn't super well received at first.
No way.
I'm
was nominated for some Oscars.
Because I was watching or I started this Netflix documentary, like the movies that made us, and maybe I'm totally off base, but I thought I remember them saying that like it wasn't super well received at first, like maybe in its movie theater run, but I might just be totally off. I thought that's what I saw in the documentary, but I also haven't seen it in like a year.
Bro, what is it? Like, I don't know why people haven't mentioned the director Robert Zemeckis as a GOAT, because okay, I'm gonna just read off some movies this dude has directed. You guys ready for this? This dude directed Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future 3. He directed Forrest Gump. He directed like Castaway. He directed Polar Express.
What?
Yeah, he directed Flight, which was a really good movie a few years back. And he's making the Pinocchio film that's coming out next year. So like, dude has made some bangers.
Holy shit. Yeah, I thought this was this produced by Steven Spielberg though?
Yeah.
I was gonna say for
yeah,
some reason,
Robert Zemeckis, he directed it.
Damn. I didn't realize he was such a good director. I thought maybe he just did these or something.
One and done.
Yeah. Be a really good one and done. But
holy shit. Dude, the VHS of this movie came out for $80 in 1986. That is a lot of money.
Holy shit. That is a lot of money, especially in 1986. Damn,
Jesus.
$80 for a VHS. Was it like yeah, it would have been just the first movie too. Damn. Well, I mean, those were a few of my favorite scenes though. What about maybe you, Andrew? What were some of your favorite scenes in Back to the Future Part 1?
I mean, I thought when they first tried using the when they're in the Twin Pines Mall parking lot, like I feel like that's just so iconic that it's just like defaults to one of my favorite scenes. But my favorite scene by far is at the ending sequence where he's trying to get, where like you said, it's just like a crazy hectic, like nothing's going right, like shit show. And I think maybe one of the reasons I liked it so much is because it reminded me a lot of like, obviously this is a lot longer, but like the kick in Inception, like how like everything kind of starts to like deteriorate and it's just like you're racing against the clock. I feel like that kind of like influenced how I perceived that scene since it was the first time I'd seen it.
Oh,
but like, but I was like that was such a good scene because I was like, oh my god, like something's gonna fuck up here.
Music too. Dun, dun.
Yeah.
It's like the lower tone of the back.
Yeah, it's some crazy. I mean, and like how it starts, like he's he's racing against the clock already, and then he gets locked in the band's car or whatever, and then like all that, like it's just like, oh, I was like getting like low key stressed for him, like watching. I was like, oh my god, like is he actually gonna? I mean, he's got to, but like, I'm like if I was watching this in the theaters like back in like 1985, I'd be like, damn, I don't think he's gonna make it. I mean, with the knowledge I have now, obviously, I would know he made it since there's 3 movies, but
well, like back-to-back events for like the last 30 minutes of the movie where everything is going wrong. Yeah,
they pull all the stops for like shit that like that will fuck up his plan at the end. Like anything they could imagine is gonna go wrong happens.
And Doc's like scream when the other cord gets unplugged. He's like, oh, and then he like zip lines down the cord. Like, oh my gosh, everything about it. It's just
Well,
it's so good.
I'll say, I'm surprised you guys didn't mention this in terms of my favorite scene. It's that iconic, that scene in the parking lot at the beginning. Where they're, he's just giving him the rundown of like, um, what is it, how it works, and it like goes through, it disappears and it comes back, and it's like, or no, it's like, when it first goes off, like it's driving right at them, and then it just disappears, and you see the flames like shoot through underneath them, and it comes right back, and then the Libyans, they come after them. But that's such an iconic scene to me. Like, and that's probably my favorite scene, just because there's like a wonder to it.
Yeah, and it's the first time that you get to see the time travel too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like he initially uses the time machine and the DeLorean with the intention of saving Doc's life after.
Yeah.
Um, but then,
It
he
turns
ends
into a whole different adventure.
literally he ends up in 1955 with no fuel left and no plutonium because it hasn't really been made available yet. Then he, discovers his mom and his grandparents, and they're much younger. And then it begins Marty's like unintentional, uh, epic journey to, in the end, save his parents' like boring lives. When in reality, or in the beginning, he really just wanted to save Doc's life, and
Yeah,
he
and
did
it's about his, it's about
minutes.
him saving his own life too.
Exactly. But it's just like the stakes of the movie are so high, and um everything's so well done, and like I've said before, like everything's cause and effect and everything makes sense. There's nothing in the movie where it's like, I don't really know how we got there. Like it all makes sense, and it's all believable too.
And I
um
think this is like a perfect example of a movie where you can have high stakes in a film without the like threat being like quote unquote like world ending.
The world
You know?
ends.
Yeah,
The fucking snap.
yeah.
it can be more on a personal level.
But still, yeah, the stakes can be super high. I mean,
Exactly.
literally, he's gonna disappear from existence.
Literally, and maybe there is a universe where in Back to the Future it's like some universe ending thing, which I mean, spoilers, they kind of get into that a little bit more in the second film, but with all of that being said, I think it's pretty easy to tell that we all really enjoy this movie. So I mean, I say maybe we just go ahead and get into some of our final thoughts,
Yeah,
um, and then get into a rating.
yeah,
Um, so I'll start us off. There's really not a lot I can point out as a flaw with this movie, other than maybe some corny, over the top acting here and there. If I'm being really nitpicky, but I mean, it all works at the end of the day, and everything's super believable, and I really like the characters, and because they're corny and over the top, they're that much more memorable. Everyone kind of has a catchphrase too, especially Doc and Marty, and Biff. Um, it's an instant classic. Um, I'm not 100% sure. We kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but I'm not 100% sure how it was perceived initially. Um, I don't know if it was an instant classic in 1985, but for anyone that's seen it today, or recently, I think that would be how it's.
I was gonna. Do you want me to add on to that? I was like looking it up while you were.
Yeah, actually, go ahead.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was nominated for Oscars. It was actually like the highest grossing film of that year. So,
Oh, wow.
it was,
Okay.
yeah, it was pretty much considered like a classic. Even it was like
There
a, like an instant classic, like from the beginning.
Good deal. Well, I'm glad it was too, because um and now that I think about it too, maybe that documentary of like the Netflix These Films That Made Us, the Back to the Future episode, I think it was actually referring to the fact that before it came out, they had plans for 3 movies. So they were more so worried about the perception in that regard. And maybe it wasn't that, obviously it wasn't that it was perceived poorly initially, because it was an instant classic, and it's for great reason. I mean, it's got a great cast of characters, a simple and easy to understand but interesting time travel plot, and it's super well done. Probably one of the first time travel movies that is really well done. It's one of the very few movies I can remember like pretty much everything that happens from start to finish. And it's a movie that I watch every single year personally. To me, it's nearly a masterpiece, and it's definitely one of my all-time favorite movies. There's just something, and maybe it's a little bit of the corniness if I had to nitpick, that keeps me from giving it like a perfect score. But in my opinion, this is easily a 9.5 out of 10. So that's my final rating. Back to the Future 9.5. But what about you, Andrew? What were some of your final thoughts, and give us our rating?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit all the main points. Like this is, I could definitely see how this is like a cultural phenomenon and how it's been cemented in Hollywood, history. Um, but yeah, I think the movie is an excellent movie, which I would watch. Like I would watch it over and over if anytime it's on TV now. I'll probably just like flip it on. But I I think mainly like now thinking like because I'd like totally forgot how much of like a dunce George McFly was like until Arcel brought it up. But like I think like not his character specifically, but I kind of wish um I like kind of wish he was more of like a like second protagonist instead of just like a like kind of just like the dumbass he's like his son's just trying to fix. Um, but I mean, I would definitely give it a 9.5. Like you said, John, there's just a few nitpicks that I think hold it from being a 10. Um, like I thought like the whole thing, I guess when I saw the movie, like by the time you finish the movie, it makes sense. But like I really thought they killed off Doc like right away, and I was like, "What? Like, what the fuck? Like, this is some bullshit, bro." Um, but I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I something just tell me I can't give it a 10 out of 10. But I give it a 9.5. I think it's an excellent movie, and maybe after I watch the second one, maybe my rating would go up. I guess I'm basing my thoughts off of only seeing the first one all the way through, so maybe once I watch the other two, I'll kind of come back and revisit.
Yeah. So I guess I can hop in from there. Yeah, like I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 either, but because for me, like I don't know if I've talked about this before. I probably have, so I'm like probably like sounding like a broken record player, but I can't give a 10 to something until either some time passes or it just kind of got that like that thing that just pushed it over the edge for me. But like I can never give it 10 like until probably at least a month after I've seen something or watched something or played something. Um, and to me, like this was like watching it for the first time again. Like it wasn't just something I'm watching on TV or like just casually watching. Like it's something. It was like I'm sitting down. I'm really trying to experience this movie, and I loved it. I loved everything about it. And like I said, I think it just worked. Like it's just everything surrounding this film is just like the perfect circumstance. Like I don't think this movie would work as well if it came out today. Um, and like a lot of how the characters act and things like that. But this is us kind of looking back into the past, into 1985. And it just got that amazing flair to it. It's got that X factor, and it's just we're joking, keep saying quintessential, but it really is, like it really is quintessential, like Hollywood. Like if you had to pick, 5, 10 movies that summarize the history of cinema, there's a good chance this is one of them, that you would pick for that ultimate, lineup or whatever. And like this movie is just fantastic. Like it's just a classic. it really is an instant classic. You can watch it and you can just feel it, you know. And there really isn't that many complaints. Like, yeah, some of the characters act a little stupid, but there's they're acting that way to serve, you know, the story at the end of the day. And yeah, you know, I'm super excited to now rewatch the second one. Uh, but yeah, this movie is, you know, not to be redundant, I would give it also a 9.5. I loved it.
There we go. So with that being said, the official ControllerCast score for Back to the Future Part 1 is a 9.5 out of 10. I think that's really solid. I think it's accurate.
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 As someone that's seen the movie about a dozen times, I would say that it is just short of a 10. And even if you guys, you know, sit on it for a while and we come back with our review of the second one in a month or 3 or however long it is until we continue this series, I think that you guys might still agree. For me, every time I watch it, there's just some little thing, and I can't even put my finger on it, but there's something that doesn't quite get it to a perfect score for me. But I mean, with all of our tens, I think it doesn't necessarily have to be perfect, but you know, it's got to push, and this does push, I think, the movie industry forward, and it's definitely an instant classic, and it's special in its own way. It's just, I think it comes down to it being a little over the top in some regards.
Yeah.
Um, but no, it's nearly perfect, and especially for being made in the 80s, a time that maybe was a little over the top with media in general. I think it's about as good as it gets. So I think that pretty much wraps us up for this week, guys. Thank you all for listening and tuning in. I know it's a little bit shorter of an episode this week, but not a bad thing. We hope you guys enjoy listening. Definitely keep sharing with your friends, and hit us up on social media. Let us know what you thought of Back to the Future. Let us know if you're excited to hear the official ControllerCast ranking of the rest of them. And we'll keep, you know, talking about and reviewing new and old media. So this is John signing off. Thank you guys again for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Thanks all.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks, everybody.